Council held its first meeting after the Chinese New Year holiday. It considered the latest situation of the pandemic and the response of the government. There was in-depth discussion. The EXCO members encouraged the team fighting the pandemic and the government to keep up its effort. The members also conveyed some views of the public and mentioned areas where improvement could be made. But definitely we will take these views very seriously to improve our arrangement. Now, since the 5th of January, this is the 6th press briefing I'm holding on the pandemic. That shows that there's been a rapid evolution of the pandemic and is coming on is raging fast. So the government needs to update its strategy in the light of the latest development. Now, the Executive Council endorsed certain arrangement this morning. First, there is it's endorsed the amendment to regulations under the Prevention and Control of Disease Ordinance. You are all familiar with CAP 599. Under this ordinance, in the past 2 years, as we fought the virus, we have enacted various regulations such as CAP 599C, F, G, and so on. Today, the EXCO amended some of the regulations. We've also made a new regulation under CAP 599. These regulations are meant to achieve certain purposes. One, we have expanded the list of scheduled premises under CAP 599F. There are originally 17 types of scheduled premises, such as restaurants, fitness centers, beauty parlors, and so on. You're familiar with those. And we're adding 6 other types of premises to be subject to CAP 599F. That includes religious venues, shopping malls, department stores, supermarkets, markets, and street markets, and also hair salons. So 6 types of premises. And for the purpose of the amendments is that in future, the Secretary for Food and Health may make directions. So for directions applicable to scheduled premises and closed premises, the direction will extend till the 24th of February midnight. Now, originally it's to expire on the 18th of February because every 14 days we would review whether there is need to extend the direction. Later on, the Secretary for Food and Health will issue a direction to extend these social distancing measures to the 24th of February midnight. And then there are 2 other types of premises to be included in the list. That is religious venues and hair salons. The direction will come into effect on the 10th of February, this Thursday. So together with other premises, the direction will be enforced until the 24th of February. And I'm sure you all know what is the significance of the 24th of February. The third measure is that for premises subject to CAP 599F, the use of vaccine pass will be made mandatory. So that includes the existing 17 premises and the other 6 premises to be added to the list after the amendment of CAP 599F. So in other words, for 4 types of premises added to the list today, they don't need to be closed, but until the 24th of February, there's a need for the use of a Leave Home Safe app that includes street markets, market fairs, markets, supermarkets, and so on. So starting from the 24th of February, anyone who wants to enter these regulated premises, they will have to scan the Leave Home Safe app and also produce their vaccination record. Now we have updated the Leave Home Safe app. There's now version 3.02. So it will make it easy for premise operators to check the vaccination records on the Leave Home Safe app. I mentioned the vaccine pass will be launched more or less on the 24th of February, but then for some premises we would like to start the arrangement sooner as a pilot scheme. That's for restaurants. Because as you might recall, in eating establishments, there is already a requirement for staff members and customers to be vaccinated. And we've heard the views of the sector, so we will first launch the vaccine pass at restaurants. Now there will be regulations to require the use of the vaccine pass. The government will also be introducing other measures to launch the vaccine pass at places like schools, universities, and all premises with government subsidy. For example, daycare centers, activity centers, youth centers subsidized by the Social Welfare Department. That includes, of course, also offices of the public sector. For example, government offices, people have to be vaccinated before they will be able to enter soon. And then the fourth measure is to tighten the social gathering ban. Now, under CAP 599G, the cap of a gathering is 4 persons. Today, we are amending that to 2 persons. Well, it was the case some time before, and now, given this severe epidemic, I hope the public will accept that we have to go back to the most stringent level. The fifth amendment is to introduce the gathering ban on private premises. We will spend more than 2 families in a cross-family gathering at private premises. The sixth amendment is to increase the penalty. Now, for those who do not comply with the compulsory testing requirement, either under the compulsory testing notices or the restriction testing declarations, if people do not comply with the compulsory testing requirement, at the moment the fixed penalty is $5,000, is going to be doubled to $10,000. The second batch of amendments have not been endorsed by the Executive Council, but the Executive Council noted the second batch of measures that we're going to work on. And this includes amending the employment ordinance to forestall any labor dispute as a result of our need to fight the virus. Now, we haven't yet completed work. The Labour and Welfare Bureau will be amending the relevant legislation as soon as possible, and then this will be discussed at EXCO and then introduced to LegCo for the amendment to be considered. Now, there are 3 purposes to be served here. 1, for employees who could only go to work with a vaccine pass, but then the employee refuses to use a vaccine pass, so the person could not go to work. Now, if that's the case and the employee is dismissed by the employer, then under the amended regulation, legislation, it will not be regarded as unreasonable dismissal. So it will not be regarded as unreasonable dismissal. That means if a staff member refuses to cooperate, the employer would have no choice. Otherwise, the employer would have breached the law. The second one is that if employees are not able to go to work because of any compulsory testing requirements, if the employer wants to dismiss the employee, then that would constitute unreasonable dismissal. The third purpose is, now for some employees, they may be subject to restriction testing declaration or quarantine in retirement, say at Penny's Bay. Then for these people who are subject to compulsory testing notices or medical certificates issued by the Department of Health, then under the amended legislation, this will be deemed a form of medical certificate for taking sick leave. So it is hoped that these 3 measures will avoid labor disputes between employers and employees during the pandemic. Now, we've actually been appealing to the employers to adopt these measures, but then we've still received, views expressed by the labor bodies. Now, the third issue has nothing to do with the EXCO, that is the latest progress on anti-epidemic 6.0. You might recall on the 14th of January, I announced the introduction of Anti-Epidemic Fund 5.0. I said then we wanted to proceed quickly with that round, so that's why we did not go to LESCO to apply for fund injection. Instead, we made use of the balance of the fund. That is some $3.57 billion of the balance were used for the fifth round. So for those businesses and individuals affected by the latest round of tightened social distancing measures, they will be given assistance under the scheme, and also sectors that have been whose business have come to a halt because of the pandemic, that is the tourism sector, they also covered. Now, for the AEF 5.0, we have already invited applications for most of the subsidy schemes, and in some cases, there's not even a need to apply. We would disperse the funds where necessary. So hopefully, we're able to disperse the funds to those businesses and individuals in need. Now, in the light of the latest development of the epidemic, the government may have to extend or even strengthen certain social distancing measures. So last Friday, I mentioned that we are going to launch the sixth round of the AEF, that is AEF 6.0. Well, since then, which was just a few days ago, the Chief Secretary for Administration and various has been coordinating effort, and every department has been working hard on that. So we have almost finished the overall scheme for AEF 6.0. So together with contingency, we will be applying for fund injection of $26 billion. I said initially it would not be less than $20 billion, so now it's more than that. It's $26 billion, covering some 40 plus measures. And as we considered AEF 6.0, we did consider very carefully all the views given to us by the sectors and LESCO members. And then we try to be most compassionate and understanding in coming up with some support measures for the reference sectors and individuals, because we want to cover as far as possible all the sectors and individuals affected by the tightened social distancing measures. Now, there are over 40 measures under AEF 6.0. Please wait further for the details, because our colleagues are still sorting them out. But I can tell you it'll be soon, because we have already reached a consensus with the chairman of the Finance Committee. The special meeting of the Finance Committee will be held next Tuesday on the 15th of February. And on that day, we'll be applying for a fund injection of $26 billion into the anti-epidemic fund. Of course, by Monday morning, we hope to be able to dispatch the document, and then you'll be able to find out about the details. Now, of course, I know someone has already written in their views, and they must be very much interested in finding out what's in the package. So perhaps I could give you some brief information here. Compared to the previous rounds of AEF 6.0 will have some special features. We are going to do AEF 5.0 again, that is for premises that have to be closed or because of the ban of dine-in services at night. Then we're going to do another round of disbursement funds. So for those who've been given funds, who are given subsidy under AEF 5.0, they will get another round of subsidy under AEF 6.0, and the amount will be more. But then for AEF 6.0, we would also like to take care of those who are not directly affected by the social distancing measures. Because of the economic condition and the few activities as a result of social distancing measures, there are others who are indirectly affected. So for sectors indirectly affected by the social distancing measures, they'll be given support as well. So here we're talking about the tourism sector, which will be given support again under 6.0, because this sector is the hardest hit. And then other indirectly affected sectors will be included. For example, the passenger transportation services, laundry services, employment agencies, local farmers and produce, and so on. And then for AEF 6.0, we would also like to give support and show our gratitude to those who've been working hard under the fifth wave of the outbreak. That is the frontline workers who are involved in the fight against the spread of the disease. In my Facebook, I mentioned these people. That includes cleaning workers and security guards. And so also there are others who are exposed to high risk because of their work. For example, workers handling air cargo at the airport. Here I could tell you that under AEF 6.0, the subsidy amount would be $2,000 per month per person for a period of 5 months. That means we will start the disbursement from February to the middle of the year. So for 5 months. $2,000 per month per person for 5 months, so in total is $10,000. That's more than what we gave out in the last round, which was $7,000 for 7 months, $1,000 per month. Now, for cleaning workers, security guards, we don't distinguish between whether they're employed by government contractors or the private sector. So as long as these workers are employed by private property management companies, they will get $2,000 each month for a total of 5 months. And the third special feature of AEF 6.0 is that we've been listening very carefully to the views of LegCo members and labor union leaders. They said this wave came all of a sudden and it came on us hard. Regionally, the unemployment situation improved much. You might recall at the end of November, our unemployment condition improved substantially. The unemployment rate is only 3.9%. But now this wave of pandemic hit us really hard and fast. So many have become jobless temporarily, and they're not earning any income. So that's why in the AEF 6.0, we are thinking out of the box. For the very first time, we plan to give some support to those who are rendered temporarily jobless because of the fifth wave of the outbreak. We're giving them a one-off $10,000 of subsidy. But then, the scheme would not be straightforward, would be really complicated. Please allow us some time to work out the logistics, and then we will announce how we are going to give this one-off support to those who are temporarily jobless. For AEF 6.0, as I mentioned, the total fund injection is $26 billion. 20% of that is contingency fund. For each round of fund injection, that need to allow for contingency because there may be, unexpected demands that we need to meet. But in this round of AEF, definitely can see we're focusing more on individuals. So if we take out the contingency amount, then we expect about 60% of the funds will be spent on individuals. So it's not the same as the previous rounds of AEF. As I mentioned, we have a security agreement of the chairman of the Finance Committee. Next Tuesday, the 15th of February, we're going to hold a special meeting of the Finance Committee, and hopefully after the fund injection is approved, we could disperse the funds as soon as possible. But the Chief Secretary for Administration will be coordinating the effort, and when all the plans are fleshed out, an announcement will be made. In conclusion, I would like to say that we've been fighting this pandemic over a prolonged period in 2 years, but then we are now facing the most dire situation. We have seen a surge in the number of confirmed cases. Some are worried that the number may be beyond 1,000 each day, and so on. And then we see that the disease is, the cases scattered all over the territory, so it's very difficult to cope with the situation. But then the government team fighting the virus, including the hospital authority staff and contractors, we are all giving our very best in this fight. And I appeal to the public to join us in the fight against the virus. Please help us on several fronts. One, please try to avoid going out as far as possible. So this will give us time and space to identify cases quickly, and then we could take immediate action such as isolation and treatment and so on. So also, please, this will give us time to launch the vaccine for us to boost the vaccination rate, especially among the elderly, so that we could launch the vaccine pass on a massive scale. And of course, we want to protect the public, and we want to keep our healthcare system from collapsing. At the same time, we want to return to normal life as soon as possible. So that's all for now. Thank you.
Please raise your hand, identify the organization you work for, and wait for the mic to go to you. Gentleman at the back row, please. This is Now TV. A couple of questions. First, the